This week in games, the Switch 2 Direct finally happened. Let's talk about all of it. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 246. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Greetings and happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to you. Connor, how's your week been?
It's been good, I think.
You think?
I'll say that.
I like how I ask you this question almost every week, and every time you have to think about it.
But you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the instinctual thing is to say, yeah, it was good. But you never know.
You never know. Something might have happened. That's why I always check in. Always ask. Always see what's up. How's my good buddy doing?
And how are you doing, Tavin?
I am stressed, Connor. I am stressed. 2 jobs, school, this, girlfriend, and just the general state of the world.
Yeah, speaking of general, I wanted general
here we go.
opinions of how your week went, not specifics. We can get past it.
It was very busy. I'm very stressed, and I'm still working off the sickness from last week.
See, you care what I've been through this past week. Right. I don't care what you've been through this past week. So yeah, you've been sicker than me. Not even really that sick, just allergies. Can you really call that sick? Everyone deals with it. It's a seasonal thing. Not like it's a traditional illness. You're kind of overblowing it, aren't you? Just saying. Under the weather is how you described it last week. Way more preferable to sick. Yep. Well, what else is...
Connor, I hope a bookcase falls on you. The carbon monoxide alarm is going off, and you know you need to get out, but you can't. Trapped. Jesus. And then I hope you're just alone and suffer through the poisoning that leads to the end of your life.
Is that a Final Destination death?
I don't know. I've never seen any of those movies.
So you came up with that on the top of your mind?
Yeah,
huh?
Sure. Yeah, top of my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What are you looking at? Your dog who's sitting there pathetically sleeping.
The dog is chilling. The dog's being great.
He's been great, but she's still pathetic. Just look, wait. Oh, look, her eyes open, like,
No, at least she looks presentable. You know?
Fair.
You're a fucking mess.
She's also a fucking dog, so.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Two Penny Gamescast. Each week, me and Connor come to you with the nerdy news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with 2 topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them.
Come on.
Apologies.
Interrupting yourself.
I know. It had to come out. It had to come out. Anyways, normally that's what happened, that's what happens. However, this week, the Direct for the Nintendo Switch 2, in which we got a lot of new information about it, happened, and some more information happened after the Direct as well. And it's just the whole talk of the town is all about this. So we're gonna focus on the Direct, the happenings, and everything after that today. So make sure you're up to date. Actually, don't, because that's what we're here for. We're gonna be here to give you all the up to date information. Very, very, very excited to talk about it. Connor, we reacted to the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. That reaction is live now on the channel, and you can all go and watch that. We even broke out little special segments of the parts that we thought you might be more interested in to see. So you can go and see our live reaction to all of those things. Some TikToks and some shorts have been going up all week about it as well. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have your notifications on. Make sure you drop comments down below so that we can get your 2 pennies in on all of this. And let me tell you what. You know what? We'll get into it. This, of course, is the Two Penny Gamescast. You can catch us every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. And if you want, you can catch us record all of our shows live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames Monday afternoons, where you can watch us record this, the Piggy Bank, and of course, the Two Penny Game Club, which the newest episode of will be attached to the end of this episode. So make sure you stick around to watch that, or watch the breakout YouTube video of it so you can get the visual aspect of it, which is, semi-important to that show. And make sure you just always like, subscribe, and let us know what you're thinking down in the comments below. Connor, the Switch 2 Direct happened.
And
right?
what a direct it was.
What a direct it was. So we're going to go through, I got a Polygon article up here that breaks down everything that happened at the direct. We're going to use it just as a sort of timeline of the direct. We're going to talk about everything shown off, everything announced at the direct, and then we're going to talk about everything else that happens after all of that.
It's amazing that this is simultaneously the best direct and also the worst direct.
It's not the best one, but I thought it was a really, really. Let's talk the direct itself, the presentation, how they showed it all off, the pacing of it, the game shown, all of that. What did you think of the direct?
Well, Nintendo Directs are always pretty good in terms of how maybe the games themselves aren't too interesting, but at least the rollout of it is quick. They're going to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, and the presentation is always very well done. Now,
sometimes they stay on Fire Emblem for like 20 minutes, and we're like, "What? Did we really need this?"
Yeah, and that's the biggest issue that these directs typically have. That was not present here. And in fact, the games that were unveiled was, amazing. I was always, unsure about what was going to come up next. Certainly some things were obvious, like Mario Kart World. But then there were some things that were not so obvious, like Duskbloods, which we'll get into in a little bit. And even And it showed off more than it had before.
Right.
They're playing around a lot more with the levels, doing crazier things that you even did before.
Right.
As someone who didn't really play a lot of Mario Kart 8, a lot of it just seemed to be, in terms of crazy shit going on, it was hang gliding segments and magnetic segments, right? Where you're on like it
was like hang gliding, and then like magnetic, where you would it was like a floating magnetism, but it would just like be a way to like curve the track and go upside down and stuff like that. But like it still functioned like normal Mario Karting.
Meanwhile, this new one has, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, you're jumping from wall to wall at certain points. But it's been a while. I probably should have had a refresher. But it is Mario Kart. It has this cool open world system that allows you to kind of race around with your friends and go explore things. We'll see how gimmicky that is, or maybe it's something that has a lot of value. But Mario Kart, it's always worked a very simple way. You get in your race friends, maybe computers, you throw Mario adjacent items at your opponents and, try to be on top.
Yeah, and for the most part, I agree with you. I think this direct was fantastic. I think it was a really, really well put together presentation. There was some key information missing in the direct, and there was a reason for that, which I am not happy about, and I do not agree with from a business perspective, or a consumer perspective, even. But overall, I thought the games they showed were great. I thought the announcements they made were pretty good, and it moved at a solid enough pace. It was well presented. It was well put together. It was well made, which it needed to be. But there was a chance that it wasn't going to be. I remember the Switch 1 presentation where they rented out the whole theater and did the stage, and they brought a couch out just to take it right back off. It was weird. Yeah, the Switch 1 presentation, the equivalent of the Switch 1 presentation to this, was not good. This was quite good. With the exception of the information that was missing from it that was vital, namely the price. But overall, I thought there were some great surprises. I thought there were some great moments. I'm excited for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm excited to eventually get my hands on one. When that'll happen, who knows?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. But let's go ahead and move on into our first real breakdown topic right here. We're going to go piece by piece, everything that happened in the Nintendo Direct. They started out, we kind of already were talking about it, Mario Kart World. This will be a open world Mario Kart game. A lot of really crazy things happening, a lot of breakdowns that I'm seeing online. Crazy amount of characters, including like Bonefish and Dry Bones and just a bunch of characters that you would not expect. The cow from the Moo Moo Meadows level is a playable character. Absolutely insane. Looks like there's a bunch of skins that you can unlock and play as. Lots of different Grand Prix. Instead of going to a loading screen in between races in the Grand Prix, you drive to the next race, which is really, really cool. And just in general, I think this game looks fantastic. It looks like the explosion that Mario Kart kind of needs. I'm not going to say it's gotten stale, because it definitely hasn't. Mario Kart 8, and specifically Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, is phenomenal. It's a really, really great video game. But I think if they just did a normal Mario Kart 9, I don't know if that would play as well today. And I think this chance that they're taking, this choice that they're making in order to make it an open world, and there's more like driving around the world and exploring the tracks and so forth. It's bold. It's scary because it could not work and lead to where the game feels like a lot of filler, or the game doesn't feel as polished, or just a host of new problems come when you make a game open world when you're traditionally level based. So I'm very, very interested in that. And then, of course, there's this weird mechanic where the characters eat something and then they change costumes and so forth. I don't know what that's about. There's a lot of different costumes that you can apply to each character. I don't know what that's about. I'm waiting for they have a Mario Kart World Direct coming the 17th, I want to say.
They got a lot to show off.
Is that right? They don't say it here.
Yeah.
Anyways, maybe it's here at the end of this little trailer. But everything they showed here got me excited. I'm into it. I'm really, really into what they're doing. The wall riding, the different rind grailing and stuff. Those
jumping
really,
into a truck. That was one.
Yeah, jumping into a truck and like running people over. That's like the type of stuff that like you would kind of dream of as a kid for Mario Kart. And that's my thing. I think this game is going to be so good for the kids. You know how often as a kid that you just like run around a level and just like kind of mess around and don't do anything? Kids are going to love driving around in the open world in this game and just playing and just driving around and free roaming and all that, just for the sake of doing it, not even for any real reason.
Ideally. That's honestly the thing I'm most unsure about is how fun is that open world going to be?
Is there going to be content in there? Now, for the kids, that's not going to matter. But for guys like you and I, it will matter. Is there something to do there? Is there a reason for driving to the next course instead of just putting me there?
Yeah, and I know pacing isn't really a thing people think about with these kinds of games, obviously.
But it is important.
But it is, because, there's that downtime when you get through this nail-biting race, hopefully, if you're doing good enough. So I wonder what they're going to do to make that more than just you're going to hold down the button and follow this road to get to the next map. Like, are there going to be benefits for when you do get to that next map? I'm assuming so.
I would imagine there's a button that you can hold X and it'll just put you there.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, and it'll line you up with the rest of the players when they get there. There was a little quick moment in the trailer where like you're driving and the countdown starts. And then you got a boost somehow out of that. So, yeah, all of that's really, really interesting. This looks like a good move to me so far. Now, when the game comes out, will it be? That'll be a different conversation, right? They highlighted a knockout tour where as you're progressing through the races and so forth, if you don't reach a certain placement, you get eliminated from it. That's an interesting new mode that I'm really into. And then, just a lot of like different things that they figured out. I like the social aspects of it. We're going to get into it here in a second, but it looks like multiplayer play or just social aspects of video gaming, they are leaning into hard with this Switch 2. I think it's a good move. I think it's a strong move. I think this is sort of the Switch 1, great console, probably my personal favorite Nintendo console of all time. I think but it does come off a little kiddie. It's a little childish. It's a little toy-like, right? The Switch, even how it's colored and how the Joy-Cons work and all that. I think this kind of symbolizes sort of a maturation or a maturing of Nintendo and its products here. So I'm very interested to see how Mario Kart is leading the charge here, because it's coming out launch day, leading the charge here with the Switch 2 and all of Nintendo's clear efforts into multiplayer / social gaming.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into all that in here in a second. Mario Kart World Direct, April 17th. We will be covering it probably on this show, maybe? Is that big enough for a topic? I think so. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Depends. It's a big game, Mario Kart. So
probably going to be one of the bigger news stories of that week.
I imagine so as well. So we're gonna find out all about that. That's probably also when we're gonna learn some information concerning us in the United States. But we're gonna save that conversation.
April 9th is when we'll learn that.
Is that true?
It'll be exasperated. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But yeah.
Next up in the direct, game chat. So
clearly inspired by Discord.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So in the lead up to the Switch 2 reveal, there was this leaked C button on one of the Joy-Cons, on the right Joy-Con, I believe. And nobody wondered what that was. And we were all thinking, it's to like cast to the TV. You can press the button and in handheld mode, and instead of getting up and putting your Switch in the dock, it'll just send it to the TV. That's what we thought. We are wrong. It's not that at all. It turned out to be chat. it's a chat functionality. As you said, clearly inspired by Discord. Video chat relays in all of that. So you click the C button, it opens you up. You get to join a party chat, and you get to see everybody who's in the party chat. You get to share your screen if you have a camera that's compatible with the Switch 2 or the Switch 2 camera itself. You get to put your own video feed of your personal self up on the Switch. They premiered that there is a microphone in the Switch itself
that is able to receive your voice, filter out all of the stuff going on around you, and come out clear and crisp.
That's what they say.
We'll see. Nintendo has a history of advocating for like functions of their console that don't exactly work utmost.
I mean, even with technology that's the primary function of it, it doesn't always work 100% of the time the way that they advertise it to. So the fact that this game console, the first time they showed it off is the Switch was in the dock next to the TV while the player was on the couch. And they were like, oh yeah, it'll be a clear thing. Someone's like blending a smoothie in the background. Yeah. I'm like, no, that's not going to work at all.
They seem confident in it. But
I assume, I don't think they said it in this direct, but I assume Bluetooth will be, I don't think they like overtly said it. There's like microphone stuff going on. I assume Bluetooth is going to come at launch this time around, as opposed to the Switch 1 where it came later. How did it come later? I don't know. I don't understand how technology works. So yeah, a lot of the functionality of this chat stuff is obviously voice chat. You can talk to your friends. Video chat, you can put a picture of yourself. It even does the green screen effect for you and blocks out the thing. And there's like fun things for games like Mario Party or whatever, where it puts you in the game next to the little icon next to your player character. Those are cool things. And then you can screen share. Now, they are not hiding the fact that screen share is not as good as Discord here. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say they are showing 5 different video feeds, and the main one that you're playing isn't dropping in frames. Everybody else's footage looks like shit. It is framey as fuck. It doesn't look good. But what you're playing isn't dropping in frames in this presentation. If that's true, that's impressive. That's impressive.
And that's, again, with all of the other players also having their camera on.
Yeah.
If it's just one person,
and you're watching all the screens at the same time, that's really cool that you get 5 different feeds at once, and the one that you care about is not dropping in frames.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, the rest of them look like shit. Like, even when you, like, bring it up and make that your main focus and you're watching somebody else's gameplay, it still looks like garbage.
Yeah.
It's like 10 frames a second. Like, it just doesn't look good. And there's artifacting on the screen and all this stuff. So, like, it just doesn't look great. But bold of them to try. I appreciate that they try. And that's more functionality than you have on the PlayStation and Xbox versions of the Discord.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when you're on PC, of course, you have all of these and more, of course, because that's PC and that's where the function is supposed to be. But if you're directly comparing with home console competition, that's a better system than what the other guys have, assuming everything works as advertised.
Right.
Which I personally don't believe it will. We'll see, though.
Yeah,
we'll see. That microphone specifically is going to be garbage. There's no, mark my words right now, there's no way that's going to work as advertised.
Can't be.
Impossible.
Unless.
Also, you know where I keep my, in my room, it's my TV, and then it's my bed, and my bed is facing the TV. The dock is behind my TV, right?
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to be able to pick up my voice. And I'm also imagining you coming in and going, oh, hey, what you playing? And now it's picking up your voice and not my voice, and there's crosstalk. Someone's like, hey, shut the fuck up. It's just a mess. That's messy, right?
And, we'll see how much we even use that feature, since it's very much built into online. And though Nintendo, with their Switch 2, are trying to move more into that space, other platforms are still predominantly.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how their games perform online. Because
do you think they'll incorporate Discord?
No. I think they already have their system. It seems like a Nintendo thing to not want to rely on external services.
I mean, they used to have, like, Twitter and YouTube on it, and they've been pulling them away. I think they're tired of content reaching their platform that they don't want on there.
Yeah.
When you look at the state of Twitter today, when you look at the state of YouTube today, like, there's just a lot of stuff that, like, they just don't want on their platform. And I get it. I can even respect it. So, but Discord is the industry standard for a lot of these types of things, and so to not have them is disappointing to an extent. But I get it, And if at least voice chat works fine, voice chat works great. I'm all in. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
All the chat functionalities, game chat functionalities, will be tied to the Nintendo Online subscription service, but approximately the first year is free for everybody from launch to the first year. Not whenever you buy the console, from launch to like, I think it's like May or something of 2026. It's available to everybody. That's a smart move. Get everybody hooked, and then, make us want to jump in. And by that time, we'll have the first year of games out. Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, I'm assuming, with some of these. And then, of course, all the games that are getting updated and upgraded for the Switch 2. Moving on. And they showed off they're putting out a camera. It's worth noting, you don't need Nintendo brand hardware to get the camera working. You can use any camera that has a USB-C on it, and it'll work just fine. Good move.
Yeah.
Local play via game share. This is for if you have multiple Switches in the same room. Somebody has a game, other people don't. We can all still play together. So if I have Mario Kart, you don't have Mario Kart, you can share with me. I assume it's going to be pretty. Let's hope the internet works well. Is how I'm gonna say that. Let's hope the internet works well.
The more the game will demand from the console, the worse that function will probably perform.
So, and then upcoming next is probably the first miss of the Direct. The first thing that I was like, that's stupid. And that is the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. This is a digital software that you can download, and it gives you the full tour of the Nintendo Switch 2, what all the different functions are, get in deep with the hardware, what the magnets do, how they work, because, of course, the Joy-Cons attach via magnets this time around instead of the little rails that break. They're doing magnets. Word is the magnets work great. We're going to get into that in a second. So the Switch 2 Welcome Tour is a great idea. Here's all of the things about the Switch. Here's how it works. Here's some fun information that you wouldn't know otherwise. Problem is, you got to pay for it. What the fuck are we doing? What is going on?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous that you have to pay for it. This is a pack-in title, something that should be on your Switch automatically as soon as you boot it up.
And this is compared in the article to Astro's Playroom for obvious reasons.
Yep.
Astro's Playroom has so much more character and personality, where this seems like very corporate-y. In the sense of how you're going to explore these kinds of things.
I saw someone point out the little infographics that pop up when you go to click on things are the exact same like infographic style things that you would get at an E3 booth. Back when E3 was around, when you go to a Nintendo thing and it'd be like, oh, it's literally the same graphic, like from back there. So like, yeah, it feels very businessy, very corporate. I'm very curious as to what the attach rate to this is going to be. We'll never know. But are you even breaking double-digit percentages here? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Crazy choice.
Oh, well.
Mario and Voice minigame upgrade for Super Mario Party Jamboree. So a lot of your, this is sort of, hey, we're going to upgrade a lot of your games. Mario Party's getting like this whole new expansion and stuff going on. Mario Party Jamboree, that is getting this whole new expansion coming to Switch 2 that you're going to have to pay to upgrade for. But it looked cool. It looked fun. Looked like neat little game modes for Mario Party. I'm not going to subscribe to it, but more power to you.
For the people that are playing Super Mario Jamboree, that's like perfect for them. I guarantee.
Yeah. For people who are like really hardcore into it, I'm cool with just the boards and so forth. And again, Mario Party got a big showcase with the game chat functionality to where like, hey, like your face can pop in and be there. That's cool. That's for everybody as long as you're playing on Switch 2. I'm into that. Enhanced Zelda games, enhanced versions of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. You have to pay for them. We are not aware of currently how much you have to pay for each thing.
Not entirely, no.
Yeah, so you can buy them outright for full price, or you can get it upgraded if you already own the game. Again, we don't know what that is yet. Drag and Drive.
Oh, yes. The Rocket League version. Their version of Rocket League.
So this reeks of ARMS to me, but it started out as like a weird like thing. The Joy-Cons we've talked about before can be used as mouse or as mouses, these things.
There's two of them, so
these things they can be used as that. And so Drag and Drive is a game where you play as like a little robotic guy in a wheelchair and you're shooting basketball, and they preview it here. And something that I do think is cool about the Joy-Con is you can use it as a mouse, drag it around the table, but at any time you can just pick it right up and it works as a normal Joy-Con. For the purposes of Drag and Drive, you pick it up and shoot the ball with motion controls.
Yeah.
You shoot the ball. That's cool. This is a cool concept of a video game. It doesn't look great.
It looks very low budget.
Yeah,
But
you know,
in a good way, where you're like, it's doing what it needs to do.
right? Yeah, I would be interested in this. There's a couple of things they do to like make it look cool. I made the joke in our React that I'm gonna posterize you, Connor.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Listen, it looks cool. It looks cute. But we're living in that ARMS 1-2 switch level of quality here with this game. But I think it looks better than 1-2 switch. I think it looks about the same level of quality as ARMS to me personally. So if you liked ARMS, maybe you'll like this. But cool idea. Bad name. Drag and Drive. That's a bad name.
Drag X Drive.
Drag X Drive. That's a bad name. And then here we got into some third-party stuff. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. We got a announcement in trailer 4. This is a prequel to Tears of the Kingdom, so it's going to be in between our two games.
Technically, it goes along the events of
Breath of the Wild?
of Tears of the Kingdom.
Got you. Yeah. So this is another hack and slash Hyrule Warriors
Dynasty
Warriors type thing. Koei Tecmo developing in cooperation with Nintendo. In that looks solid. Looks like another one of these.
It seems more narrative focused though, because I remember criticisms of Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Three Hopes. I believe it was.
Three Hopes had some narrative.
It did have some narrative.
Yeah.
Okay. It seems like this is potentially leading more into it because it's inherently tied up with the main plot of Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, the last one wasn't so much tied into Breath of the Wild. This one is very clearly tied to Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Very clearly tied to it. So I can appreciate that, and I like that. And it looks like there's enough fun things that they're doing around with different characters you can play as, different abilities, and so forth. It looks like a quality game.
Yeah.
Now, will I play it? Probably not. But for those who are interested, I think it's gonna scratch a good itch. GameCube games are coming to Nintendo Switch Online. Much like what they've been doing with things like the N64 and Game Boy and SNES, NES, all of that, where they've just been adding to the catalog. It's the GameCube time. And, of course, they premiered it with Wind Waker, and they showed off a couple of other titles, Soul Calibur 2. There's another one I'm missing that they, really showed off. But at the end, they showed off, all the titles that are going to be available. It launched F-Zero, Wind Waker, Super Mario Strikers, Super Mario Sunshine, Fire Emblem. Which one?
Was there Fire Emblem?
Yes.
Oh, no, Path of Radiance.
Path of Radiance. That one.
A game that has been hard locked behind hundreds of dollars, can now be played for still expensive, but
I mean, it's the subscription service. I think the subscription service as of right now is priced
also
adequately.
Factoring into the fact you need to buy a Switch 2 to do all of this.
I mean, yes,
Yeah.
but did they say GameCube will only be available on Switch 2?
I think so.
Or is it just coming to the subscription service when Switch 2 launches? Because I would assume it all works all the same because it's all the same. But I guess we'll find out there later because it doesn't even say in the Polygon article here. So yeah, that's cool. GameCube is a beloved platform with a lot of really beloved games on it. So it's great that a lot of these games aren't trapped on that system anymore, and there's an outlet for Nintendo to get us some of those older games that have been missing for a long while. Resident Evils are missing. I think that's weird. They should probably be added at some point. I don't know if Resident Evil 1 Remake is available on Switch. Resident Evil 4 definitely is. But I think both of those games are key and instrumental to making the GameCube platform what it is outside of Nintendo games. And so I would really like to see those. But yeah, I think the initial lineup that they have is a solid initial lineup.
Gotta wait for Twilight Princess. I just want Twilight Princess.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Okay.
From Software's The Dusk Bloods.
The shocker from what
I was
been able to hear.
hardcore convinced this was Castlevania the whole time we were watching it. And there's a great reaction piece that you have up in short and in long form video on the channel that you can go look at. That I think it's quite funny because I literally go, this isn't From Software.
Yeah.
And then From Software pops up and I go,
Okay.
all right, never mind.
Our reactions were basically the same as everybody else's I've seen, where it's like, is it Bloodborne? Someone I saw said Castlevania.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the FromSoft comes up and the reactions happen.
Yeah.
It's really interesting the way they're going about this.
Yeah. So The Dusk Bloods.
PvP/PvE.
PvPvE.
Yes,
So
PvP.
player versus environment.
How exactly enemies?
Is that what it stands for?
That's what I've always thought, yeah.
Oh, I just thought it was environment.
Because you're fighting enemies.
I guess. I don't know.
Either way, I'm there's a lot of uncertainty about how this is exactly going to play because the player versus player element, clearly because they're trying to push online games and they made some sort of deal with FromSoft because it's FromSoft to get some eyes on their new online platform.
Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive.
Yes, and this is going to get. There's going to be people that are going to buy a Switch 2 and this that otherwise wouldn't have because FromSoft has that grip on the industry right now, almost in a similar way that Nintendo does with their titles. And, there's been some reactions from fake FromSoft fans, not like true ones like myself, being all doom and gloom.
Oh, we didn't even get into it because before this had happened with all the third-party stuff, it was stuff like Elden Ring confirmed for Switch 2,
Yes.
a bunch of other games, Hitman for some reason, Hogwarts Legacy, several other games are coming to Switch 2 that have been out for a long time, and you can now get them now. Split Fiction,
Yes.
a lot of titles that you were like, oh yeah, that makes sense as to why you play Switch. Not so much Hitman, that's weird. But also worth noting, Project 007 revealed / like
We already saw it before, though.
It had been announced that IO Interactive was working on a 007 game. This is the first like real big thing that we've seen of it. Not that it's a real big thing. It was just it's a thing that's happening, which is something we already knew. But it's the fact that it's coming to Switch is fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
And the fact that Nintendo was the first one to premiere it in any form or fashion is also interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, the Dustbloods.
Yeah, it's attached to Nintendo's expansion of their online services. And I'm just curious how this is going to play out because we basically have no details. It looks very, very similar to Bloodborne. Some people are already calling it Bloodborne 2. And honestly, besides it being FromSoft and being a game similar to how they've been doing it in the past couple of years, basing it kind of off Dark Souls 3 and expanding it beyond there, I'm interested to see if it's only going to be multiplayer, like you have to play it as a multiplayer game, or if it's one that, even though that's one of the main functions, and FromSoft is their game, the Demon Souls games and Dark Souls games always have that online play. I mean, it's inherently linked to the story of when Miyazaki, the game's director, was going through a snowstorm, his car broke down, random people came and pushed it through to help him. Now, this is clearly more antagonistic because it seems like you're going to be battling it out to try and obtain some objective.
Well, and I like the balance. Elden Ring Night Rain is a cooperative game. This one is a little bit more competitive. We're going to lean more into that player versus player combat styling of it. I think it's a smart move.
And it seems to be framing itself based off of Night Rain because I was seeing the same characters pop up and you saw them fighting and they had their own fight styles. So I'm curious to how it's going to play in that regard.
It certainly looked like you're going to play as a character. This is this character's build and so forth.
Like Night Rain.
I'm imagining this is kind of maybe a little bit more Sekiro team.
I believe that.
Or maybe they're like kind of just blending now, and this team's working on that, this other team's working on this, and they're kind of like switching around and so forth. Because it has heavy Bloodborne vibes, which is before we had that massive split between the two or whatever, or right where we had it. So yeah, I think they're just kind of moving around. Who wants to work on what? Okay, great, but we need someone to work over here, so come over here. This, that, and the third. I think they're managing their teams a little more fluid than we are expecting.
And to, again, address the issues I've been seeing online of people being upset that they're going in a more multiplayer direction, FromSoft did make comments saying, we're still making our tried and true games you know and love.
Well,
so
I think
they're experimenting.
Yeah, both of these games are clearly not the next big FromSoft game, right? This one, I think, is clearly a little bit bigger and a little bit more ambitious than Night Rain is, right? But I think clearly we are going to, whatever form, whether it comes in a new IP, whether it's an Elden Ring sequel, whether it's a return to some of their older IP, this is clearly not the next big FromSoft game. It's bigger than Night Rain. It's important to the catalog of From Software, but I agree with you. Clearly, they're experimenting. They are trying to see what else can we do. We've mastered this. Yeah. People love this. We love doing this. What else are we capable of? And is there anything else we can add to this formula to really expand what this thing that we do can be?
And I'm looking forward to it because playing around with the games you make is how you stay fresh. You know, they would get old after a while if they did the FromSoft game every single 2 years or 1 year because they put them out so goddamn quick.
Well, I mean, they've done a pretty good job of diversifying their portfolio generally. I mean, Bloodborne doesn't 100% play like a Dark Souls game.
Sekiro does not
Sekiro
play
plays like nothing else. Elden Ring, sure, similar to Dark Souls.
But then
very
Armored
similar,
Core 6 comes
but
out
still
like
differently.
2
And then
years later.
Armored Core 6 out of fucking nowhere doesn't play like any other Armored Core game they've ever made.
No.
You know, and it also doesn't play like anything else they've ever made. You know, they're really good at diversifying their portfolio. And they've bought more than enough goodwill to at least give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You know?
This is not a CD Projekt Red moment. This is.
And it also doesn't feel like a team that's being pushed to make a certain type of game that they don't want to make. It doesn't feel like Crystal Dynamics making Marvel's Avengers. It doesn't feel like BioWare making Anthem. It doesn't feel like Bethesda making Fallout 76, even though that game did eventually turn around and become good. This feels like something it feels that way right now. It feels like something they are passionate about. It feels like something they want to make. It feels like something that they're going, oh shit, what happens if we do this? What happens then? You know, it still feels in-house.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Which is something that a lot of these other studios haven't been getting. Kirby Air Riders. This was one of their last big surprises. This one had a really big pop out of Phil, who reacted alongside with us. I don't know nothing about Kirby Air Ride. So
I played it very minimally. It's a fun racing game.
Okay.
It's a charming racing game, too. I'm happy Sakurai is back to making things that aren't Smash Bros. Because clearly he had been burnt out from that. So, you know, I think he's an amazing game maker. And I think we'll see a high quality game.
I'm interested. I'm excited to see it. There's not much in this trailer to like really divulge from other than it's a Kirby game and you're going to be doing some air riding.
And by that same token, there's probably tons of other people who I don't even have like much experience with it. And many other people don't as well. So a lot to show off, I think, when it inevitably gets a gameplay show.
Yeah. And you know, the ability to like put something fresh in, you know, and figure out something new, do something great. So yeah, color me interested.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it'll be high quality. And so, yeah, I'm very, very excited to see what's up next for this game and to get more details. Right now, just slated for 2025. Dustbloods slated for 26.
Yes.
And then finally, the last big bash.
The smash hit.
The smash hit, Donkey Kong Bonanza. This is clearly what the Super Mario Odyssey team has been working on, is a brand new 3D platformer Donkey Kong game, one we haven't really gotten since Donkey Kong 64. So it's been a while since we've gotten a 3D platformer game. And yeah, they're going a different direction.
It looks great.
I think so as well. Lots of like destructible environments, picking up big rocks, throwing them around. You're being a big monkey, and you're doing big monkey things in this. But it looks great. Physics look fantastic. Phil doesn't like the new design of Donkey Kong, kind of going into that sort of the movie territory where he's got real sunken eyes in that. I don't mind it. I think he looks fine. I think he looks good. I appreciate a different look for Donkey Kong personally. And so, yeah, this is probably the game that I'm most excited to get my hands on when I eventually get a Switch 2, just because I've just got a bit of an affinity for Donkey Kong. No real reason. I don't particularly love his solo games. I like him in Smash a lot, but I've just always really liked Donkey Kong as a character. And so, yeah, this is sort of a revival of that Donkey Kong IP and sort of being like, hey, all right, Donkey Kong we've kind of played around with in the 2D space for a while. We've had different things, but let's do something new with Donkey Kong. I don't want to say reboot him, but let's reimagine him and what he is capable of bringing to the table as an IP.
And you might be able to talk about this better, but it seems vastly different from the Mario games.
It is.
And whereas the original, from the little bit I've seen, the 3D Donkey Kong game, didn't it kind of just play like a Mario 64 game, just with Donkey Kong and some slight changes here?
A little bit more like a Banjo-Kazooie type thing where you run around picking up things and collect-a-thon type stuff going on. So yeah, the gameplay perspective, yeah, this is very different. Art style-wise, it does kind of look like Mario Odyssey, which is why I'm certain that that's what the team is who's working on it. Is I can see the DNA there very clearly. But yeah, it's showcasing a lot of character. It's showcasing a lot of really cool gameplay mechanics, and it's showcasing just fun
destruction,
just fun. So yeah, I'm excited for Donkey Kong Bonanza. We are getting that July 17th. Not a launch title, but close to it. The Nintendo Switch 2 was announced to be coming out June 5th. So yeah, I'm excited to get my hands on it, Connor.
Great title too.
Bonanza? Great title. Yeah, awesome. Can't believe we've never done it before.
I know, right?
Yeah. I'm excited to play Bonanza, Mario Kart, a whole bunch of stuff on Switch that's coming to Switch 2. The question is, when is that happening? And that's where we lead into our second half of this show right here.
No bother.
And we're going to get into sort of the pricing details and some of the more global political landscape that are affecting the launch of the Switch 2, and just a lot of questions that we have about the Switch 2 that we hope will be settled in a way that makes sense to us, the gamers, the consumers. And we're going to pray that the best case scenario happens to all of us. So, Connor, I am going to jump to your Substack post on the whole situation here.
Right over there.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Connor here writes all of the stories for the Gamescast. He writes them over at TwoPennyGamesNews.substack.com. So make sure you jump over there and subscribe so that you can see you can read yourself all of the articles that we read on the show. We used Polygon in the first half of the show just for the breakdown, but we didn't really read anything that they wrote themselves. Here,
it's all written.
It's all Connor. It's all Connor. It's all
better or worse.
It's all you. For better or worse. So, Nintendo Switch 2 Direct leads to pricing and availability concerns as Trump's tariffs threaten the global economy. A Nintendo Direct occurred in preparation for the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, where a release date and a slew of new titles for this year and beyond were unveiled. However, fan excitement warped to disappointment as prices increased for Nintendo hardware and games, with U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs set to exacerbate the issue. On April 2nd, Nintendo announced video games such as the Duskbloods, Kirby Air Riders, and Donkey Kong Bonanza, along with a console release set for June 5th. But following the showcase, listed prices showed the console would cost $449 in the US, a $150 increase from the original Switch, to the disappointment of fans. Furthermore, while Donkey Kong Bonanza listed for the recently new industry standard of $70, Mario Kart World is currently going for $80, leading to confusion of how the rest of Nintendo Switch's 2 catalog will be priced. I'm going to stop there, Connor, and I'm going to start with just that, because we haven't really talked about the Switch 2 or any of the tech stuff that they talked about in their Direct. They say that games will run at 120 FPS on the Switch 2, at least in handheld mode. The screen on the handheld mode is bigger, but it is not thicker. Same thickness as the Switch 1. That kind of disappoints me. That boy could be a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
Be a little bit thicker. I think the Joy-Cons are a little thicker, but the screen is not, which that's a good thing to be. But I still think we could go a little, just to fill out the hands a little better. Anyways. So the screen's bigger. The controllers are a little bit bigger. $449. First of all,
HDR.
HDR. First of all, Nintendo's saying HDR and 120 FPS is something I never expected coming out of this Direct. I'm glad it's here. A little disappointed the screen is not OLED, but reports coming out from previews is that the screen is quite high quality. So we are getting high quality images on there. It looks like Nintendo is swinging a little bit heavier this time around for technology. I appreciate that. With that, I would expect a sizable price increase from the $300 that we got from Switch 1. I was predicting $400. We're $50 above that. That, I think, is the most that they could have possibly charged for this. They're right to charge for as much as they think they can. And I think they can. I think they have. But that is before Donald Trump's tariffs all went in. So before we even get into that, I'm going to ask $450 for the Nintendo Switch 2. What is your reaction to that?
My issue is not with the price of the console.
Yeah.
Like you said, 400 seems more reasonable, but Nintendo's they're greedy. No other way to say it, they're greedy. And that's
I don't think in comparison, I don't think they're more greedy than anybody else out here.
It's not applicable to the console again. They're doing it because they're greedy, like all companies are, but not in a way where it's like, you shouldn't be doing this because you're greedy. It's in the realm of possibility. So
before we get to software prices, $450 is okay. Switch 2 for you?
Yeah,
Even though we're still underpowered from even what the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are presenting, I think we're somewhere in the middle ground between a PS4 Pro and like a Series S. We're somewhere in between that and I think we're higher than those two, but we're lower than the other guys.
But that's the thing with Nintendo. Even though their hardware is lower powered, they are far more exclusive
Yeah.
And the act of taking it on the go is far more preferable just to get a Switch than get like a PlayStation Portal or a Steam Deck for most people.
Yeah.
So they understand that their system is unique.
Have we heard
what-
any
in what purpose it
comparison to
serves.
Steam Deck?
Uh,
I've heard we're close to what the Steam Deck has.
I haven't heard I have heard comparisons only in the sense they're trying to, push their handheld device, which I'm assuming it's probably caught up in the whole entire idea of pushing multiplayer as well for their online services.
Yep.
But they're competing with those consoles because
Yeah.
no longer is Switch the only handheld or the common handheld.
Nintendo does
console on
not.
the
They
market.
carved their own lane with the Switch One. They're not the only ones in that lane anymore.
Yeah.
and it looks like more are coming.
But it helps that they're Nintendo and their stuff is very often only available on the console.
Yep.
Which is why my main issue is the raising or the potential raising of their games from $70 to $80.
No potential. They're going up.
Well, that's the thing. Other games are $70 like Donkey Kong Bonanza,
Gotcha.
but then it's $80 for Mario Kart World. So
Digital.
it's like, well, yes. The whole thing with physical games costing more is not true. That has not been confirmed.
That's not been
it's
confirmed? Okay.
Not been confirmed by Nintendo.
It might happen still.
When the tariffs happen,
Yeah.
that will be when things will probably change. But as it stands right now, that was some incorrect pricing, I understand,
Gotcha.
from online. Some articles were reporting on it, but that was a couple days after the direct. Now that it's been almost a week, coming up on a week, it's
Yeah.
been cleared out that there's no confirmation on that.
So I'm in terms of software games going up in price. I'm of two minds of it. First of all, it sucks. Nobody likes when things get more expensive. Nobody likes it. I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody likes it, right? We want our games to stay as cheap as they can possibly be, right? They were at $60 for a long time. It was talk amongst the industry. We were long overdue for a price hike. Now you can argue on whether or not we needed it or not, all till the cows come home. We were probably overdue with it, with how everything else was getting more expensive as we kept going, right? And the core reasons for that, I agree with you, there's a top 1% who has more money than everybody else.
And they
right?
want more.
And they want more. And they don't need more. They don't need what they have right now. And Nintendo, at least for a long time, held out for an entire generation at $60, with the exception of Tears of the Kingdom. This sounds to me that they are coming up to $70 with everybody else, industry standard. I'm fine with that because they are also coming up in technology a little bit more. The problem with charging $70 for Switch 1 titles is the Switch 1 is a piece of crap, technology-wise. Like it's a great console. It gave us great games, and it trailblazed a new lane for taking your games on the go. Love that. That wore out its welcome after the first year. And then it was, fuck, this game looks like crap. God, even the Zelda games don't run as well as they should. Oh man, this game, this third-party game that came to the console looks like garbage. We're getting Mortal Kombat 1s, out here that look like they're from the N64 era of games in order to run on this console, right? There's a bunch of problems like that. So they're upgrading their hardware so that they can put more third-party stuff on this console. It's going to be more up to par with what everybody else has. Still behind, but more up to par. I can appreciate and I can respect that. And so $70, that's fine. $80 for select titles is acceptable to me. It's not preferable, but it's acceptable if the game is a banger. And if the game took a long time to develop, which we know this Mario Kart World Tour did take a long time to develop. You and I covered rumors and leaks about Mario Kart 9 all the way back in like 2022, So here we are 3+ years later going, oh, here's the new one. It's been cooking for a long time. They want to make more money off of it. And on top of that, it's our launch title for the system. It's also worth noting, we haven't said it yet, there's a $500 bundle with the Switch 2 that includes Mario Kart World, in which that's a $30 saving if you get both at the same time. So clearly, Mario Kart World is $80 to push you to get the bundle so that they can get $500 out of you instead of $450.
Which could be why
Business
it's
is
only
business.
for Mario Kart World.
Huh?
Which could be why that's only for Mario Kart World right now.
Right now,
They could be testing
yeah.
the waters.
I expect the next big Zelda game, whatever that is, whether it's a Tears of the Kingdom sequel or something along those lines, I expect that one to be $80 as well. But things like Mario Party, I expect to be $60 to $70. If we are exploring the scale and $70 is not the floor, I'm totally okay with this. If some titles go back down to 60, if some titles go down to 50, 40 dollars, I'm totally okay with that. The problem is that I don't believe they will. I do believe that $70 will be the floor, and that's where the problem lies. I don't want to pay $70 for a Mario Party game. I don't want to pay $70 for a Mario sports game that's not very good. You know, I don't want to do that.
I want to pay $70 for Breath of the Wild since it came out how many years ago now?
Yeah. You know, like you got away with it for Tears of the Kingdom just because the other guys were doing it and we knew it was a big title for you, right?
Not to mention, we're undermining the fact that Nintendo doesn't go on sale, which adds to the entire idea that this is when it was we were first seeing those prices before we knew how much Trump's tariffs were affecting those prices.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, oh, they're using the economic instability to raise prices so they can get more money. Now that's not the case. I don't include it in this article. I do point in the direction that the increase in prices wasn't a result of Trump's tariffs because of a spokesperson that said something to VentureBeat. But Doug Bowser came out and was like, no, it has nothing to do with it. Now, they opened themselves up to pricing will change later and we'll let you know. But the decision to raise the price as it stands had nothing to do with Trump's tariffs. And that makes sense. I mean, they had to have been
I don't think
discussing
it had
this kind of
nothing to do with it.
I think it had nothing to do with it. I think they know what they are. They're Nintendo, as I was saying before. They have games you can only get here. Now they're doing a FromSoft game you can only get there. They're doubling down on their titles being exclusive to their console, and now they're extending that even further with multiplayer games. I think they realize the position they're in, that people are going to buy games. I've seen a whole week of shitting on Nintendo fans, deservedly, because obviously the outrage was pretty harsh against Nintendo.
It is. It's very harsh.
It's been neutered. And I see some of these same exact people who are complaining about it saying, it sucks, but, it's Nintendo, basically bending themselves over and showing them their asshole. It's the pathetic nature of Nintendo fans because they're loser consumers.
Well, I'm not going to go that far. Nintendo delivers the goods more often than they don't.
They do, and I was kind of half joking. They know there's a bunch of loser consumers out there who will buy their products regardless of the price. And so now people
Those are just called fans, Connor. Those are just called fans.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between fans and mindless fans.
Yeah.
And I think Nintendo has a lot of the mindless guys.
Well, it begs the question, how much are you willing to spend for a video game? And in today's economic landscape,
before it gets even worse,
I'm not willing to spend. Listen, right now, I can't budget $100 for a video game. I can't budget $90 for a video game. I could kind of budget $80. I can budget $70. $60 would have been the like premiere. Oh yeah, I'm still buying every new game that comes out. But now as we continue to get higher and higher, you and I have been talking. I don't know if I'm where I am personally now economically. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to afford having a top 10 games of the year for this year. That's where I'm at, And there's a lot of other people who are like me. There's a lot of people who have been like this for a long time, And so it's not. It feels a little tone deaf of Nintendo to do this right now and to have the hard jump from 60 to 80, at least for Mario Kart World.
And I think it really does go back to the fact they know people are going to buy their stuff.
And we haven't even said it yet, not including any of this information in the Direct is cowardly.
Oh yeah, because they knew what the reaction was going to be.
You knew what the reaction was going to be. You knew it was going to take all the air out of your win for your big Nintendo Direct. You knew more people were going to go and watch the Nintendo Direct than they were going to go to your website and find out the pricing for all of these things. And that's gross. Mm-hmm. That is where we look at Nintendo and go, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's not cool.
At the core of it, they are like we cover some positive stories. Like for example, during the time when Nintendo was really struggling, the CEOs, the executives.
This is why I don't believe Nintendo to be a greedy company. I believe they are stingy with their IPs and what they do, and I do believe that it's not cool that they never discount their games or whatever. But when their games are as high quality as they usually are, not a hard rule. There are garbage games that they put out, right? But for the most part, they're quality. So I'm okay with it, right? And let's be honest, they spent a generation $10 less than everybody else.
Yeah.
That's fair. For 5 years, they stayed at $60 with the exception of one game.
Breath of the Wild.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
But that's fair.
Well, hey, know what they did? They waited,
and
they got the
then
goodwill,
then they bit harder.
time to even do it. To basically, any goodwill they got from that is eradicated if they go to $80 because it just makes up the difference and how long they spent still staying at $60.
Sure.
Especially if it has wider impacts. Which if they do dedicate to doing $80, it's going to. GTA 6. There's been discussions that it potentially could cost up to $120.
This to me confirms a base version of Grand Theft Auto 6 will be $80.
Yeah.
And before we've had conversations about this in the past, I didn't believe the $100 rumors for a base version of GTA 6. There will be $120, $150, $200 version of GTA 6 that you can buy, collector's editions, bonus skins. Here's $100,000 cash in game or whatever. You get starter cars that other people weren't getting. All of those versions and iterations were always going to exist, right? There was going to be a version of GTA 6 that was over $100. I did not believe the baseline version was ever going to be $100 until this. Now we're saying that the $90 physical version stuff not so true anymore. We're gonna cross our fingers and hope that is the case post tariff. I don't think it will be either. We're gonna get into that in a second. But after this, GTA 6 absolutely is gonna be $80 minimum.
Yeah. And know what? What I just said about Nintendo?
People are gonna buy it.
They're fucking loser bitches who do.
I think
anything
GTA
they
6
want.
is Grand Theft Auto 6 to me is worth $80. I know for you disagree, but for the amount of content that you're going to get, and you have to remember a lot of the online stuff is usually free. I don't know if they're going to change that for 6, but GTA 5, all of it was free.
Unless you're playing on a PlayStation.
Well, yeah, but that's not a GTA problem.
It's not, no.
No, yeah. So but all of the expansions, the heists, the updates, the new guns, the new you got fucking spaceships, flying spaceships in GTA 5.
You have to understand.
And all of that was free. So if that continues to be the business model for 6 is absolutely worth $80.
Yeah, and on that alone, I have no problem with that because of what it's going to include. My main issue is shitting on GTA fans because they're drones.
But my question is, Connor, is Mario Kart World worth $80?
It's not worth $80. That's the issue here. I get you said earlier
now,
it took a while to develop.
There's a world in which it is. If it's content rich, if it's got a lot going on, if they have updates coming later that are free, maybe not entire course packs. You could charge for those maybe, but more skins, more carts, more something that are free later on. I could be into that. And if that open world is worth being open world, I could imagine, yes, then it absolutely was worth $80. As of right now, we're living in theoretical. We're not living in practical things. I can theorize GTA 6 being worth $80 because I have GTA 5. I've had GTA 5 for a decade. I know what they did in that game. I know what they added to that game. I know where the game started and where it is today. And the fact that they never forced me to pay for any of that content that they added is phenomenal, right? We don't get that. Mario Kart World, I know what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is. I know I haven't played half the game because you make me pay for it. And so now I have to sit here and look at the game and go, hey, well, what are you adding to make it worth this? An elimination mode and driving from course to course isn't enough.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see when that game comes out. But I think this is a dark moment as far as pricing is concerned. I don't think this is going to result in an exception. I think it's going to become the new rule.
I agree. I don't 100% lay the blame at these specific gaming corporations personally. I lay it on blame of how the rest of the world bows to capitalism. But you kind of have to work within that mold to do things. If wages were going up at the same rate inflation was going up, we wouldn't care about this.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's not. And money's fake, so why is it not going up at the same rate? Why? All stupid. Anyways, moving back into your article here, Connor. Rumors spread that $10 price hike only applied to digital games and that physical copies would go for $90, but this would not be confirmed by Nintendo. Reddit moderator Razorbeams posted a comprehensive pricing chart to the Nintendo subreddit covering the price of the Switch 2 standalone console, Switch 2 / Mario Kart World Bundle, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Mario Kart World. The chart covers the nations of the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Eurozone, Australia and New Zealand. Asian territories like Japan and South Korea will provide games at a lower price, with Mario Kart World costing approximately $68.58 and $67.14 respectively.
First time I heard about the Eurozone. That's a
They don't normally call it like the PAL region or something, or
There's other ways for it. It's basically just any place that uses the euro. Which
okay.
United Kingdom was that.
And then Brexit.
Yeah, so I'm assuming, and there's probably
What do they use now? The pound?
Yeah.
But it's not always been the pound?
I think their currency's always been weird. Don't bother asking me.
Okay. All right. Hey, Europeans, y'all, the English, y'all are weird. A 10% minimum tariff on all countries went into effect on April 5th, with higher reciprocal tariffs planned for April 9th, while China, in retaliation, placed a reciprocal tariff of 34% on U.S. goods. While blame initially laid itself on Trump, a Nintendo spokesperson speaking to VentureBeat indicates Trump's tariffs have yet to factor into their pricing. Quote, "We have nothing to announce regarding the impact of tariffs on each country and region," a spokesperson said. Quote, "If there are any price changes, we will make an announcement." Should I stop here or keep going? I don't remember the rest of the article.
I would go out a little bit more.
This isn't to say Trump's looming tariffs haven't affected the Switch 2's rollout, as pre-orders that were originally set to begin April 9th have been delayed indefinitely. A statement from Nintendo to GameStop reads, quote, "Pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 in the U.S. will not start April 9th, 2025, in order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions. Nintendo will update timing at a later time, or at a later date. The launch date of June 5th, 2025 is unchanged."
Now, do we want to focus on, I guess, the impact of Trump's tariffs? Is that the next main? So I would go and read a little bit more.
Okay.
Because, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's recap. Console still set to launch in America June 5th.
Yes.
We'll see if we can hold that. It depends, right? Price as of right now not changing.
It's going to change.
It's going to change. Expect it to change. Expect base model to probably be $500.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. What do you think the chances are of them potentially going, "Hey, base model $500, but pack-in is Mario Kart"?
I think they just raised the price of everything across the board.
$50 each?
Yeah, I don't think they would not. Again, this seems like it's what Nintendo would do. I was thinking they were solely doing the price increases because of Trump's tariffs and using that as kind of an excuse of, hey, we got to do what the economy demands of us. Right?
Here's the thing. We've already talked about how we believe the price was going to be more expensive than the Switch 1.
Yeah.
I predicted $400. We don't know. We'll never know. They'll never say it. They're a buttoned-up company. They're going to keep all of their shit buttoned up, so we'll never know this. I theorize that the initial price was $400. Donald Trump got elected, and so they went, all right, $450, because he's talking tariffs, so we're going to have to talk about that. And then the tariffs happened, and they are more severe than anybody predicted, because Donald Trump is an idiot. And so now they're having to go, whoa, $450, not enough. Even though we thought that that's what we were going to do anyways. Because it doesn't make sense to me as a business to know that this threat is looming on the horizon and to not prepare for it. And to me, it would have been better if they were like, well, we were going to launch at 400. Let's jump up to 450 because that's better than having to raise the prices after already announcing what they are. And then reality hit. And so now they're going, shit, we didn't go far enough.
Yes.
So we're going to have to do it anyways, which sucks. And it's going to affect a lot of people. Hey, man, depending on how bad it is, you and I probably will not be getting Switch 2s. I mean, maybe we'll split the cost or something. It all just depends on what it is.
Yeah.
But we may not, us and a lot of other Americans may not be getting Switch 2s for the first year.
Maybe not, depending on what all happens.
Just because of how fucking crazy it is right now.
So basically, for those of you that don't know, I'm not the best with the economy shit. You know, I pay a lot of attention to politics, so thankfully that's adjacent, so I can have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
But the imports that have been put on other countries, that'll be the tariffs that have been put on other countries, was determined by how much we export to that country.
Oh, God, yeah.
Minus how much we import, divided how much we import. Now, the entire idea is that apparently Donald Trump believes that we're losing money if we, like, send... if
we're importing more than we're exporting.
Yes, so he thinks we're losing out somehow, and now everybody in the world's paying the price.
But unilaterally, every economist in the world is going, we don't know the formula for sure, but the math adds up. So they've done the math and they've gone, yeah, this makes sense. It has to be this. And every economist has panned this across the board. They're all going, you're an idiot.
you ever see on Twitter when you were there those accounts that have like a stone statue? They're like a philosopher of the West or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not as much as you, but
No,
sure.
no, certainly not. Trump has basically been posting like one of those people, like weak times create hard men. Don't be weak. The weak survive. The weak die. The strong survive. All because people are shitting on him for his horrible impact on the economy.
I mean, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's across the
funny to
board
watch.
awful. Everybody's upset. Nobody is happy about this. Even his hardcore base is turning a little bit. I mean, of course, he's got crazies out there who are, eating his ass. So they're in the brown nosing type of way, not the like we're on to you type of way, But yeah, in general, everybody's upset about this. This is going very, very poorly. This is very, very bad. The other problem is that I don't believe you discuss it in your article, but Nintendo changed where they manufacture their goods from. I forget where they initially had it, but they changed to Vietnam. And a lot of that was due to the fact that Vietnam's tariff rates were lower. And so now they're much higher. And so that's the problem. And so there is a bit of a conversation going on online of, well, why can't we manufacture Switches here in America? The thing about that is it takes so fucking long.
You can hold off on that.
Oh, okay.
It is in here. And in fact, it's from an analyst.
Right.
Do you want to go to that right now? 'Cause it's kind of
I'm just
separate.
going to continue with where we're at, and we can put that and come back to that. IGN's Rebecca Valentine held an interview with Entertainment Software Association spokesperson Aubrey Quinn to discuss the tariffs' impact on pricing and consumer spending. Quinn touched on the uncertainty of how the industry will specifically be affected, but the ESA is willing to negotiate with the new administration to discover solutions. Quote, "We really are at this point just watching and trying not to have knee-jerk reactions, because we don't think that what President Trump announced this week is the end of the story. But what was announced this week in the tariffs as outlined, we do expect these tariffs will have a real and detrimental impact on the industry and hundreds of millions of Americans who love to play games. And so our goal is to work with the administration, to work with other elected officials to try to find a solution that doesn't damage U.S. industries, U.S. businesses, but also American gamers and families." The ESA released a statement where they announced their decision to co-sign a coalition letter sent to the United States Trade Representative Ambassador Jameson Greer in partnership with fellow, quote, innovators, creators, manufacturers, and service providers, such as the Coalition of Service Industries and National Foreign Trade Council. Quinn advocates contacting elected leaders through whatever legal means possible to emphasize the concern held by consumers. Questions regarding the manufacture of Nintendo products to curtail the tariffs was answered by Nico Partners, Director of Research and Insights Daniel Ahmad, that while possible, the likelihood was slim. Should I jump into this tweet now?
Yeah, someone asked him, hey, why can't we manufacture over here? You've been reading a lot. I can read it real quick if you want.
Sure.
Yeah. Catch your breath.
Yeah,
Let your saliva build back
tongue.
up. Yes. So in response to the specific question of, is it all possible to have some manufacturing for Nintendo done in the U.S. to avoid tariffs, if at least to some degree? Daniel Ahmad responded by saying, sure, Nintendo would need to spend billions to open a factory in the U.S. It'd probably take 4 to 5 years to complete this, not to mention the time and cost to rebuild supply chain infrastructure and source components, which would be subject to tariffs because they're made outside the U.S. They'd need to find, train, and pay employees to operate the factory. Nintendo would have to pay each worker about 10 times to 15 times more than they would for a worker in Vietnam. Then, after you add up the initial capital expenditure, labor costs, supply chain costs, operational costs, etc., you'd be able to buy a U.S. manufactured Nintendo Switch 2 in 5 years for a significantly higher price than $450. And the kicker is that by the time they've done all that, the U.S. will have a new president who will most likely remove the reciprocal tariffs anyway. So, not viable. The ball is in the Trump administration's court on whether these things will continue to affect Americans and citizens worldwide in the coming years.
If only someone could have warned us that this would happen.
Only someone was a better shot.
If only...
Then it would have never happened. That's not... now, I'm not advocating for any of that to happen. I'm just saying if someone did do it properly...
I did not expect that to come from you.
It wouldn't have happened.
I did not expect that to come from you.
I deal in facts and logic. Call me Ben Shapiro. By the way, speaking to that, Ein Kun, I would be your chum. I'm ready whenever.
What the fuck? What has been the last 45 seconds of this podcast?
What do you
What
mean?
is going on?
What do you mean? Yeah, so
on the subject of Nintendo, Connor, have I ever told you who my favorite Mario brother is?
you've said it a couple of times.
I just want to make sure. I just want to make
Wario?
sure that I have been on the record.
Waluigi.
I love me, the man in green. You know, he's a guy. He's just such a nice guy.
Bowser, baby.
He's a good-looking lad. I like him. Bowser, baby.
Kind of more than green, but it works.
Can't believe you said if only somebody was a better shot. Oh my god, that's a clip.
Send it to the FBI, and then they'll come knocking.
Jesus Christ. This is a lot.
Oh yeah,
This is a lot.
It's only the beginning of a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have an hour of Kingdom Hearts review after this also, so stay tuned. In the following days of the Direct, strange choices from Nintendo were discovered, such as select physical titles like Elden Ring, referred to being a game key cart in the description on the Play Asia online store. Rather than being a simple cartridge that you insert and play, the purchase comes with a key that allows for downloading of the game from online. It was also found out that the cheaper Japanese version of the console will be region locked so as to evade scalpers. A statement to Forbes reads, quote, "The Japanese language system, Japan only, is available only in the Japanese market. It only supports Japanese as the system language. There are restrictions on the Nintendo accounts that can be linked, and only the Japanese Nintendo eShop can be accessed. The Nintendo Switch 2 multi-language system, which is the same model as will be available in the rest of the world, has an MSRP of 69,980 yen, or $479.71 American. And American?
Wait, $479. Yeah.
American. Okay. I just want to make sure. And will only be available on the Nintendo Store in Japan. Different regions make different decisions based on a variety of factors.
Yeah, this is the nature of what we're dealing with now. I imagine by the time this episode comes out, advancements will happen. There's the grander reciprocal tax, which are going to be put on certain countries that have screwed over the United States. China, I can understand to a degree, but it's not because of rationale that made them.
It's like our number one trading partner in the world,
and we already have tariffs on them. So yeah, everybody who likes video games, from here on out, you will, and as long as these tariffs are in effect, will pay more for hardware, for games, for everything related to the video game industry, unless potentially. Well, we had talked on the reaction to the Switch Direct that digital games aren't affected by tariffs. So it seems like
we looked that up. As of right now, digital goods are not affected by tariffs.
Yeah, so we at least have that breather room, which I mean, take what you get. Take what you can get.
I mean, point blank. It's time to separate the cost of the two. If this is the reality that we have to live in because morons put us in the situation, this has to happen, right? Like otherwise, I mean, I guess it doesn't have to happen, but
especially if you have to question whether they have the $80 price tag for Mario Kart World, for example, because of the tariffs. Like your theorization was great because they could have. Trump's been talking about these tariffs forever. The issue is that he talks about a lot of stuff forever. Yeah. And he goes back on most of it. So
I mean, he was talking about tariffs in 2016. Didn't really happen. But this time, from the jump, it felt more serious this time around.
Well, that's because I'll get into my political bag. Despite as bad as the Trump administration was in 2016 to 2020,
they're so much worse now.
That's because even though there were a lot of sycophants within his administration, there was also a lot of people who were, They were government officials, so they weren't all in on Trump's policies just because Trump is advocating for them. And so, like, for example, when the Black Lives Matter riots were going on, he was trying to get the U.S. military... Protest, yes. Both happened, admittedly. But he was trying to get the U.S. military to come in and effectively serve as... to enforce martial law.
Yeah.
Now, that is not the function of the U.S. military. And so the general he had asked was like, we're not going to do that. So... That's how it was then. Now, that's the military. More, what we've seen so far is that those that he's staffed his administration with are yes men and delusional weirdos who are all in for these ideas because they're stupid like Trump is. And they're greedy like Trump is. And so you're going to see a lot less guardrails in place to prevent Trump from doing what he wants to do. And he's been radicalized by the idea that the Democratic administration, the Democratic Party, undermined his election chances in 2020, despite the fact we know even more so than we did then that that's not true. Clearly.
Yeah, bro, you fumbled a fucking pandemic.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, we wanted you gone.
On top of a number of other bad ideas that wouldn't have done him any favor, even if there wasn't a pandemic. All that's to say, though, he's clearly gone balls to the wall more than he ever has before, and these tariffs are just one symptom of that. And so it's really, you're just going to have to determine, is Trump going to be stubborn in the face of resistance? Not from the global leaders, world leaders elsewhere and other countries. He's going to be fine taking their ire. The American people are not happy with him. So it all depends on whether he's going to be able to stand up to the hate he's going to be getting. So, we're at a focal point, a crux.
I'm sorry that I'm failing you. I would normally have
we're at a precipice.
At a
We're at a
point.
precipice.
At a
precipice.
Okay, we're at a precipice.
We're at a crossroads.
That's
We're
it.
either going to go better.
Tell me about it.
Worse.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So if we turn left,
we get
worse if we turn left.
Yes.
Okay, and we
Right,
go
better.
right, we get better.
Because that's right.
But like, isn't it? Didn't we turn right in November and now we're in a worse place? Isn't that how
we turned right as is the American standard, the global standard? Arguably, we didn't even go right. We went off the rail. Using the standard of other countries for where the right and left is.
Free Luigi.
Ladies
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been your episode of the Two Penny Gamescast. Thank you so much. Listen,
we talk more about politics, Tavin?
We don't like to talk about it either. All right,
I do.
No, you do, but like not on this
podcast.
podcast. Like that's not what this podcast is for. But undeniably, we've been driven to the point to where we have to.
If we're talking about it on the podcast, it's not good news.
It's not good news.
It's not.
No. I mean, unless everything gets reversed and we can go back down to $60.
Is.
I liked $60. That was a good place to be at.
Oh, I love $60.
Even when it was $60, I liked it being at $60. It just felt right. It just felt right.
Every now and then they'd be $50. Be even happy.
You'd be like, hey, look at that. Spider-Man Miles Morales, look at you.
No more.
Miles Morales would have been $40 pre-price hike.
It would have been.
Yeah. I was okay with paying $50 for that.
I know, because you're a Spider-Man shill. It
was a sizable game. It was a good enough game. It was good. It deserved it. It deserved it.
It wouldn't have mattered if
it earned $50.
That still wouldn't have mattered.
It would not have earned $60. It would not have earned that.
These factors would not have mattered. You would have bought it anyway.
Now the question is, did Spider-Man 2 earn $70?
No.
That's a trickier one. That's one I really gotta balance. But how many of these games really do earn $70? What was the last game to earn $70?
King is
Baldur's Gate,
Elden Ring. It didn't even cost $70.
Sure, I think Elden. It is
$60.
Elden Ring, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that.
And look at the FromSoft. What can I say? No.
Yeah.
Maybe this new one will be $60. Let's say hey, we price our games.
I imagine it would be.
I don't.
Dude, $60 is the new $40. How fucking crazy is that
for companies that aren't Nintendo? Nintendo for a $40.
I mean, they're all gonna go that way, right? How much do you think that Nintendo Switch 2 tour is gonna be?
Better be fucking 60 at most. That's too much.
You think it's gonna be $60?
Oh wait, no, it's not the fucking same thing. It's gonna be it's not free.
No, the one where they break down the Switch 2 and you do all the thing.
I'll say
$20 max, right?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say $20, but that's even too high. So
I mean, that's too high. It should be free.
Yeah,
right. But what can you get away with charging for that? If you do more than $20, you're fucking insane.
Nintendo shills. They'll pop out of the woodwork.
Let us know down in the comments below what you thought about everything going on. But don't go anywhere. Don't press that X button. Don't swipe away. Don't click on nothing else. Because we've got a full hour-long review of Kingdom Hearts. That's right. The Two Penny Game Club has returned with possibly its best episode ever. Possibly. But it's damn good. It's a damn good episode. I love the ending. You got to stick all the way through to the ending. You got to watch the whole thing. It's fantastic. Anyways, until next time, have a great time. Subscribe, like, comment down below what you think about all of the Switch 2 news. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Game Club, your monthly video game book club. This month, Kingdom Hearts. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friends and co-hosts. Say hello to the people, Connor, Elliott.
It's time for review day. Woo!
It was long-awaited, this one. Long-awaited. And in fact, the reason we're even recording it at all is because of the one and only Kingdom Hearts fan on the panel. Say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
That's me. I'm the Kingdom Hearts guy, Kingdom Hearts fanatic, you might say. I love Kingdom Hearts.
We're here. This is, of course, your monthly video game book club in which, during the month, each of us play a game quietly in the background, and we wait until the beginning of each new month to come to you with a review of that game, and then we rank it amongst the other games in the series. We've done games such as the first 3 Metal Gear Solids. We've done Portal 1, Portal 2, Chrono Trigger, Resident Evils, a whole bunch of them. Make sure you check out the playlist down in the description below to get caught up on all of our opinions on a lot of really, really great games. And some not so great games. Which are which? You got to watch to find out, including watch this episode. And gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into some of it real quick. Kingdom Hearts launched March 28th, 2002 for the PlayStation 2. It currently has a Metacritic of 85. And sales, as of 2006, the original game and the final mix version had sold 6 million copies on PS2. As of March 2022, the Kingdom Hearts series, the whole franchise, has shipped more than 36 million copies worldwide. So this is a banger.
Yeah.
No, it's literally not. I hear you on Tavin. Connor, I know there's you. Yeah, that's irrelevant. Kingdom Hearts is a series of action role-playing games created by Japanese game designers Tetsuya Nomura and Shinji Hashimoto, developed and published by Square Enix. It is a collaboration between Square Enix and the Walt Disney Company and is under the leadership of Nomura, a longtime Square Enix employee. Tetsuya Nomura was the creative director behind the game. Nomura, also widely known for being not the creative director, I forget his specific role on it, but heavily involved in Final Fantasy, specifically Final Fantasy VII. Did a lot of work on that. Did a lot of work on the, sort of worked as a adjunct creative director for the Final Fantasy VII remake series. Did a lot of things for Advent Children and Crisis Core and all that stuff. So, Nomura, big deal over at Square Enix, and kind of this is his baby right here, right? And if you don't know, for some reason you don't know, Kingdom Hearts is a crossover franchise between Final Fantasy and Disney characters. So you'll see guys from like Leon from Final Fantasy VIII and Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII hanging out with, Donald, Goofy, Mickey Mouse. You explore a bunch of Disney worlds in this game and so forth. And you run around with the original originally made character for this franchise, Sora, in sort of his quest to find his friends Riku and Kairi. And so that they can be, great friends along the way. Now, Phil, you are our big Kingdom Hearts fan. You chose this game, and so I do want to give you the floor, for this to get us started. And I want to talk to you. What about this game works and maybe doesn't work for you? Okay,
yeah, I'd love to tell you about that. So I think in this particular playthrough, I think I'm still, I want to say, in terms of my total playthroughs of Kingdom Hearts 1, this might have been like my 5th or 6th total throughout my entire life. If not, maybe even less, because I want to say I've only played it a couple times as a kid. And then, we played through it, Tavin and I, back in, like February or March of 2021 on our streams. But in terms of like what kind of works for me and what doesn't work now playing through, I think a lot of it is, I got to get it right out of the way. A lot of it is nostalgia. Just from when playing it as a kid, this was kind of like my first foray into this kind of action RPG type game. Like first major dive into it, I should say. Beating enemies, leveling up, just in like an action stage that wasn't like Pokemon, because at this point my only real RPG experience as a child was with Pokemon. So to have a different form of that, along with a bunch of my favorite Disney characters, and telling a tale about friendship. It just really kind of clicked something in my brain growing up. And and I did the classic Phil thing. Whenever I find something I really like, and I kind of made it my whole personality. My mom bought me a shirt, a Kingdom Hearts shirt. I would tell anybody that would not tell me to shut up about Kingdom Hearts. But that's the past, and this playthrough now, while I do acknowledge still that Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game of all time, Kingdom Hearts 1, it can be really, really clunky at times. While I myself know the ins and outs of this game, like pretty much everywhere throughout this game, there are some very marked low points, I should say. The biggest one for me, me too, Tavin. The biggest one for me being the Tarzan World Deep Jungle. That world is an absolute slog to get through. Pathing isn't clear. Signposting rather is very, very hard to follow. That's kind of a negative in terms of a lot of like the signposting in this game, in terms of jumping world to world, where you're supposed to go next. And I want to say, when I played through it as a kid, it was really just like me guess and checking, right? Like the people tell you where to go, so then you have all this free time as a child, so then you're like, oh, let me try to go to this world and see what happens. Let me try to go to this world and see what happens, until something happens and you hit whatever progression gate that needs to go, right? Of course, they do mention like it's just there are voiced cutscenes in this game, but I feel like overall it would have benefited more in terms of like signposting and knowing where to go, is if those text conversations that aren't voiced, they're still like cutscenes technically, but like it's just big blobs of text and like voice boxes of characters talking. I feel like if those were voiced, it would probably be a lot better in terms of like knowing where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do. Excuse me, I have a really like froggy throat today. But overall, I think the combat, the magic, the overall like game feel of this game still feels good to play for me. I know Tavin and Connor might have different opinions. I think a lot of there's a lot of like hurdles you have to climb on early, in terms of climb over rather early on, to kind of dig into Kingdom Hearts, and that's like the control scheme. It's not the most intuitive thing in the world, jump for every other game on the PS2, virtually every other game on the PS2 is on the X button, whereas here it's the circle button. And that's mainly because the thing that you're attacking, the attacking is, you have a command board on the bottom left of your screen. And so you use the D-pad to kind of choose what command you want to use, whether that be attack, item, summon, magic, all that good stuff. You scroll with the D-pad and you hit the X button to select that command. And, with it defaulting to the attack button, X is, attack. And there are, shortcuts you can do for magic spells. Granted, you only get 3 of them, and they kind of fix that in the later games. They give you more options to select shortcuts and assign all of those. And there are, I would say a lot of the control scheme in this game is I would use the word archaic. Like it's very, if that's the right word. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like it's not the most intuitive thing, I should say.
Yeah, I think archaic is a fine word to use.
I would just say unusual.
Yeah, because archaic is like talking about older things, right? Like, because it's the arc.
So obviously, like it being it wanting to be an action game, but it deriving its roots from an RPG, a turn-based RPG at that. I understand the choices made and why they made them. I think clearly you can sort of delineate lineage here from or from this game to games like some of the later Final Fantasy games, specifically I think the 7 Remake series. That is a clear evolution of what they laid the groundwork there in terms of like just how that battle system works. So I can kind of appreciate that for sure. Connor, I'm going to jump over to you now because this is your first time playing Kingdom Hearts.
Yes, I played through Kingdom Hearts 2 when I was a kid. Funny enough, when that game opened up, I was pretty lost, and when it inevitably shifts back to the character, Sora, who you play in this game, I was like, who the fuck's this guy? So now I know who that guy is, thanks to Kingdom Hearts 1. And there is more to criticize about this game than there is to praise.
Okay.
I'll start with the praise. The combat system is serviceable. I do like how it set the standard for what would become my favorite combat system in any video game, the Final Fantasy VII Remake/Rebirth entries in the revitalization, if you can call it that, of Final Fantasy VII.
Remakes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Well,
you
are
use a
they
bunch
really
of-
remakes?
You're doing a bunch of big words.
Are they really remakes, Tavin?
I mean, they are and they aren't. Both
See?
are true.
The revitalization seems appropriate, but I respect them for what they did with the combat system in that regard, which, of those of you that don't know, you have basically an RPG menu system that you navigate through, but you act as if though it's an action-adventure game. Plays more like an action-adventure game. But while this system does work at a bare minimum, and I do like the rollout of the abilities that you get, but ultimately, it's found very lacking. Sticking with combat right now, very often I find that the combat encounters are mainly difficult because the way the camera is framed, you're getting hit with things that you can't see. And that's only the way you usually get hit for most of the game. I think that kind of stops happening near the end where a bunch of other problems come into play. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But very often I would just get hit with off-screen projectiles to the point where the game seemed like it was difficult, not because the game was naturally made that way, but it wasn't made up to the standard that they were aiming for. And a lot of the reason why I think of that is it's like going into the end game content. A lot of times you fight enemies, it's in areas that aren't built for the enemies that you're fighting. Very often they go into spaces where you can't access, and if you fall off the spot where they're floating above, you'll get sent to some other location and it'll restart your combat encounter again. And so you're ultimately just unable to interact with those people that are out of the boundaries. But again, that's something that comes into play more later. The rollout of abilities, while they are interesting, Tavin and me had talked about it in private at length, and how it has to reduce the things you're capable of doing to facilitate gameplay progression. So it seems like they're basically cutting your knees out from under you so you can play a more structured game, but the structure just isn't really that great because you'll have to, like, more than midway through the game, you get your high jump ability, and presumably it's supposed to facilitate movement traversal and to access areas that you had gone through in the past that now have extra items you can find. But the other issue is that while the game tries to frame itself as one where you can go back to worlds you previously explored to uncover new secrets, you have no incentive to do so. Partly due to the fact that the incentives aren't really valuable. A couple extra items. That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
I mean, you can get some like upgrade materials, like MP up, AP ups.
If you get all the Dalmatians, you get the final level of the wind spell, Eroga.
That is good because that spell is good. That spell is a savior.
I didn't really use it.
It not only it gets to the point where not only does it reduce damage, it also inflicts damage on touch. It does touch damage.
Very valuable.
Cool.
But the problem is, I don't want to go around and find those 100 Dalmatians, 101 Dalmatians, and
99. But yeah,
a lot of that is inherently baked into the level design, which it sends you every which way because every single time you go to a new world, it's obviously trying to have you accomplish some sort of task. But it just makes you go from this location to that location, to here, to there, to over there, and all within a world that all feels very similar. It just empty spaces where they'll sometimes throw enemies at you, but overall, you're just trying to get through the levels as much as possible because nothing's really inspiring about them. Even when you're in, like, the Little Mermaid world, which ideally, when you start including underwater levels, you'll have some kind of depth to it, but rather it just has boring levels that you've been playing through the entire course of the game, and also limiting the amount of abilities that you have access to that you spent all of these hours unlocking. And now, going back to the gameplay, the bosses themselves, they aren't really memorable. There's one that I can think of as being quality, and even then it's contentious depending on who you ask.
Which one is that?
It would be. It's the second fight with, what's his fucking name? Riku. But it's not really Riku. He's possessed. It's
Riku
it's the second Riku.
the second Riku fight.
Yeah.
besides that,
I will not let you take Kyrie's heart.
And you don't. But that's really the only boss fight I can really think that has any worth. And I was touching a little bit on the level design and how it just doesn't feel very, it doesn't feel worth interacting with, whether it's going back to explore worlds that you've already been to or just doing the more than the bare minimum of what the game is demanding of you to progress the plot. Which to say the plot isn't really all that special. It's just basically MacGuffin after MacGuffin. Chase your friend to, you're not even really chasing your friend because whatever. I won't get into that. But,
I'll get into it.
Yeah. So, yeah, and very often the game just seems like it's incomplete. Not only with how the level design works with the enemies you're fighting, but so often in a cutscene, Sora will, the camera will shift to Sora after being on one character talking or whatever, and he has this disgusting, evil look on his face, just blank, empty eyes that are staring out into the horizon at nothing, and it's unsettling. If it was in real life, it would be unsettling, I should say. In a video game, it just comes across as and part of my knowledge with Kingdom Hearts 2, where they're very expressive, even when they're not the focus of a scene, like they're reacting to somebody doing something, they put a lot of effort into the animation, and that just was not here at all. And that also seems kind of obvious.
For the record, that's not exclusive to Sora. It's just the thing where, depending on like if it's like pre-rendered or not, it'll be the actual full animation, or it'll just be like the blip, 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 mouth flapping.
Yeah, this specific thing that he's talking about, I chalked up to PS2 jank.
Yeah.
But again, it seems like there's something there. Like there's supposed to be a voice. It's just multiple times his like blank, like looking at you, just no expression. Like they didn't know what to do with the model of the character, and they had nothing externally happening. There's no conversation going on. It's him reacting to something, and yet he's not actually reacting to it. He's just looking at it. And this happened a lot.
It happens a lot.
I came across a lot. And it adds to this idea of, that in the level design, that there wasn't much time spent on this game, especially with, once again, my knowledge of Kingdom Hearts 2, where these issues are non-existent. I don't think about how the level design is bad like I do in this game.
The animation thing that you're complaining about is still there in Kingdom Hearts 2.
It's still there.
I guess
that's
I'll
why
find
I'm
out.
like, this is some PS2 jank stuff. Like,
I'll find out.
It is.
But
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like
non-issue.
it's weird, but like it's a bit of the sign of the times. But it also feeds into sort of my critique of the game as well. Yeah, I agree with you on. I don't think this game is finished.
And that might come through in the combat, because I did say it was serviceable. It was good enough. But near the end, you kind of get tired of pressing X over and over and over again, because it's basically just a matter of which enemy do you want to stun lock while you get their health down. And very often the game will try to add depth by including its parry system, which sometimes I would do it. I would think I would do it like the timing correctly, but there's so many things going on screen that I'll hit like an enemy that pops up in front of me, or I do anything that's not trying to specifically parry the enemy attack. And that wouldn't be the worst thing if it was optional, but there are certain enemies, particularly these fat guys that constantly pop up. Their main way to deal with them after you get them down to half health is to parry them. And so when the system just doesn't work, it not only doesn't feel satisfying, but it becomes very obnoxious. And again,
are you referring to the guard or to attack at the same time they're attacking?
Attack at the same time they're attacking.
Okay.
Yeah, guard. I guess I could have used that, but guard, I never really. I when you're so incentivized to button mash to try and get through enemies, doing things like guarding when you could just dodge don't really pop into your mind at that moment. And I guess that would have probably solved my problem with the bodyguard fat guys.
I don't think it would have.
You don't think it would have?
I don't think it would have.
And it's to that degree, some enemy designs just don't really work. There's one that does, you have to always get behind them, but they constantly can turn around very quickly and do massive amounts of damage to you.
The large bodies you're referring to, yeah?
Yes. There's wizard characters that will disappear, but even when they're still there, it won't allow you to hit them because they're in their teleportation animation, which would always, very often, just put them in those locations I was talking about before, where you just can't hit them, even with spells. I mean, the spells, they're nice, and they progress them in a natural way, like Phil was bringing up. I like the arrow ability. Yeah. It allowed you to block attacks. And unfortunately, that felt like a necessity at certain points of the game, because the boss fights would very often kill you by stun locking, by just getting you involved in bullshit. Especially the final boss, the giant, what's his fucking name? The giant demon. He has a name.
Ansem.
No, to True
Oh,
Ball. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
From Fantasia.
I would have to use that the air ability just so I wouldn't get stun locked because it curtails that. And it wasn't exactly a fun way to interact with enemies. And I guess I'll finish this up by saying the narrative is very not there almost at all.
See, and this is where I want to jump in.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's genius.
Yeah. Right.
Cinema.
So the difference, but I had an interesting time playing this game. I would say my opinion has altered on Kingdom Hearts since my first time playing through. And really what that is between my first playthrough and this playthrough, I went off and I went back to school and started studying thematic elements and arts and genre and exploring different types of storytelling. And I had a little breakout piece of the piggy bank months ago at this point. You can still find the video on the channel of this game. Is when you talk about narrative and how it doesn't make any sense or it's even like absent, Connor, you're right. Like the game starts and then the narrative pauses and then you go to all the Disney worlds and then the narrative begins again 30 hours later, right? But the thing about that to me is the narrative in the beginning is so clearly video games' best example of absurdism. The problem is that they stop doing that. So I think it might be the most like criticized part of the entire franchise is those opening few hours. That's my favorite part of this game is those opening like 2 hours where you're on the island running around doing dumb shit with your friends that like doesn't make any sense. They're having conversations that don't make sense. Phil brought up the game would be better if there was more voiced cutscenes. I agree. If it was less text box reading, I would and more voiced stuff, that would be better. But if it was also, but I still like it when we enter that weird zone where the camera's a little blurry and it's not even text boxes. It's just lines coming up on screen, like just the white lines on nothing. I love those scenes because those go back to that absurdism that the game was playing into in the beginning, which is so fucking fascinating. And if you want a more detailed breakdown of what that means to me, you can go see that other video.
Do you want to know? With the exception of the scene with Kyrie and her grandma in Hollow Bastion, do you know who's talking to you in those white text scenes?
Well, it changes from scene to scene. Because sometimes it's Kyrie and Grandma, like you were just talking about. Often I think it's Ansem.
Nope.
Or Riku.
Anytime besides the scene between Kyrie and her grandma specifically, any other time, it's Mickey Mouse.
I fucking knew it.
I think that's Nomura retcon shit. Because that doesn't feel like the intention in the game. And that leads me to my let me get through all my shit.
Yeah.
That leads me to my big thing about this game. This game does not feel finished at all. From any level of critique you want to approach it from, whether it's level design, signposting, combat, story, voice acting, nothing feels finished. And I think that kind of makes sense because game development is non-linear inherently. You've got a combat team off here doing something. You've got a level design team off here doing something. You've got a narrative team off here doing something, and they all build up together, right? It's not like movies where like you have to go film the scene, you have to go write the scenes, and then you got to go find where you're going to go film them, and then you go film them, and then you come back and you edit it, and then you put special effect. Like that's a very linear process. Video games don't work that way. So it makes sense why across the board, nothing in this game I would say is good. There's nothing good about this game. There are things that are interesting about this game. There are things that make me go, oh, that's fascinating, or that's interesting about it. But the act of playing it is atrocious. All of that to say, I don't believe Kingdom Hearts as a franchise has ever really reached its potential. I think this first game was shooting for something, and then we very quickly, and then for whatever reason, the game came out in the state that it is, and then we very quickly went on to make more, and we pivoted, and we moved into something else. And we never really, accomplish the potential. We never really achieved our potential that we were shooting for in this first game. Now, I could go off and play Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2 and whatever. I could go replay some of that and feel differently about that take than I do now. But to my memory of, I've only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. I had a better time with Kingdom Hearts 2 on hype. Again, I'm going to have to go back and revisit the game to like see how I feel about it for the purposes of this show. But to my memories of Kingdom Hearts 2, they never achieved what Kingdom Hearts 1 set out to do in the first place. And that's fine. It's just, I think what it set out to do in the first place is more interesting than anything it ever does later, personally. On top of that, just to kind of repeat pretty much everything that you two gentlemen have said, but I'm going to be a little meaner about it, but with the asterisks of I don't believe anything is finished here. So like if there was another year of dev time, I believe we would have gotten a way better game. Combat, I think, is actually atrocious in this game. They do a thing in this game with its gameplay loop where, Connor, you were kind of hinting at it, but it feels like they had a decent combat loop, and they ran out of time to build upon that. So instead of building upon it, they deconstructed it. So what you end up at the end should have been what you had at the beginning, but instead they then start taking things away from you as the player in order to create this false sense of progression. The jump is a great example of that. The beginning hours of this game, that is one of the worst jumps in video games I've ever experienced. That is a terrible, terrible jump. It feels awful. You're very often falling off of a platform that you meant to jump on because there's a weird squatting animation. It's like a frame or two where Sora has to squat before he jumps. And if you don't give but your forward momentum continues. So if you don't have enough runway in that forward momentum, then the animation can't finish, so Sora can't jump, so you just end up walking off. And on top of that, forward momentum means nothing to his jump. So you learn to just stop doing that until later when you get the actual jump that works. Then like all of those things start like mattering a little bit more, right? Because it functions as an actual jump. Combat, I think, is the same way. Just the act of swinging the sword takes too long. And the only thing that matters is where the Keyblade is, not where Sora is, not where the enemy is, not where the enemy attack is coming from. The parry system that you brought up, this is the worst parry system I've ever seen in a video game ever. It may as well just not even be there. Because it's random. Like you can pretend and be like, oh no, like you can like plan it out and say stuff like that. But realistically, you won't ever really get your hands around the system. Not really, outside of boss fights. But in just general combat or just fighting hordes upon hordes of enemies, these attack animations are so quick and they don't give enough lead time, and it's impossible to figure out the timing for these parries that you're supposed to do. And even when you do, just the way that initial swing animation works, like, it's just inconsistent all the way through.
And I should say I got used to it eventually, but as you say, the basic enemies I couldn't do that to, or at least I didn't bother trying to learn. It was only those fat guys, because they clearly showed they're going to charge at you and be indestructible, and you got to.
I mean, even in that, Phil brought up the block and the dodge are both tied to square. I almost never press that button in this because it's easier to just jump away, in my opinion, and get out of the way. In that way, and I felt like the jump was safer as well. But I will say generally, I had an easier time progressing through this game than I did on hype. If you've watched the hype playthrough, I struggled very hard through that. Didn't really struggle that much throughout this game. It's just that when I did die or fail, it just never felt earned. The game didn't earn my death, so I was always frustrated every single time I died. Level design and signposting is atrocious. Like, it is really bad. I don't think there's really any good levels in this game. Like, from a design, like, wipe away the aesthetic of the worlds and just look at like the gray box design of them. It's all terrible. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You don't know where to go. It's frustrating to get around. Yeah, there's just not really a lot good about this game. I will say, just in the terms of like how satisfying it is to power up and level up and stuff, there's some fun in the middle hours, I think. I think the beginning hours are frustrating. I think the ending hours, there's a difficulty spike that shoots way too high and the game gets annoying to interact with. But in the middle hours, it is kind of like there's like an enjoyment to just battering around enemies again and again and again, I think it overstays its welcome. I think it gets boring eventually because it is just mashing X the whole time. The combos, are flashy, but when you're just mashing X, it doesn't feel like I'm active in it. It just feels like I'm passively going, all right, now I'm going to fight this guy now. All right, now I'm going to kill this guy now. All right, now I'm going to kill this guy now, as you just whittle down these health bars. Generally, I think this game is just a miss, like a hard miss. Oh God, and don't even get me started on the gummy ship. That's one of the worst things in video game history. It's terrible. Not good. It's so bad. It's so ugly, like to look at and play through. It doesn't feel like the target doesn't feel like you're shooting at the target. It feels like you're shooting below the target because of how the 3D oriented camera and space is with it. It's just not good.
It messes up pacing too.
Oh God, they get so long, and you're in these fucking gummy ship sections for what feels like upwards of 5 minutes, and I'm like, why am I still here?
Definitely an aspect they probably should just not had in the games in general.
Yeah,
but I guess we can kind of open it up more to everybody. I want to hear what Phil says because
we like this game more. Phil's been on the bench.
Yeah, so. So I'm just saying, like in terms of like Connor and both of you guys, like I feel like. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you're saying is valid, but like there's a lot of things that I think of when you're complaining about these things, and it's like, well, you're just not interacting with some of the other aspects of the game, like the large bodies, Connor, that you're having so much trouble with. You can just use magic on them, and it goes through their belly shields.
If they have it, I would do that. It's only if they weren't. Most of the time when they did that, they weren't close enough to death.
But also, magic's not powerful enough for that to make a. Magic.
Magic,
I think, is for the most part invalid in this game because it just doesn't do enough.
I was just about to say. So I was going to lean into that. You saying that into just how baffling it is. Like how many of like the systems in this game that are just hidden for no reason. One of them being like the kind of level up ability gaining based on like what thing you choose and what thing you give up in the beginning. Your level scaling based on like what answers to the questions you get in the beginning.
But doesn't that kind of balance itself out as you progress through the game?
I mean, not really. It's just weird because like there's the morning path, which is you hit all the ones at the top, and you level really fast in the beginning. And then
what he's talking about, if you don't know, you get asked a series of questions. There's 3 answers if you answer the top question, middle question, bottom question.
Or top answers is the morning path, middle answers is the midday, and then the bottom answers are night. So if you choose the morning path, you level up really fast in the beginning, and then as it starts to taper off towards the end. If you pick the midday path, you get it's pretty standard level scaling. And then if you hit the night path, you level really slow in the beginning and then it level up really fast towards the end. And it's just very, very odd the way they decide to do that. And also the magic strength mechanic being tied to exactly how many magic bars you have. So your magic is stronger depending on your max MP. So the more magic bars you have, the stronger each of your spells will be. And that's not like how many you have left.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah, so however of your max MP you have, the more of those bars you have, the stronger each of your spells will be. Which is just, it's really weird that it's tied to that, and it never tells you that's how it works, and it's just really weird.
It seems like it's a symptom of the same problem with lack of signposting, and in the levels you just go every which way. It reinforces the idea that this is just not a complete game. They didn't have enough time to even
to
tutorialize
explain everything
properly, much less develop things to a point where they're.
And that's wild. That's wild complaining that like there's not enough tutorial in a Kingdom Hearts game, even when Kingdom Hearts 2 that prologue exists. Like holy shit.
Yeah, I like that prologue.
No, it's so
I don't remember it, but I don't remember them doing a good job of like tutorializing the actual mechanics. It's just them fucking around for 2 hours.
It's funny you think it's 2 hours.
Yeah, it's in the same way you said the island was 2 hours. It's like 1. Yeah, that one's way longer.
Okay, sure. The one in Kingdom
Hearts 2 is like 4 hours long. It's ridiculous.
But Yeah, but that's not this game. Like, this game doesn't
No, I'm just saying.
tutorialize you well at all. Like,
Yeah,
they don't
no,
even
absolutely.
explain the parry system to you. Like, I thought they did in Hype, but that turned out to just be Phil explaining it to me. But yeah, they don't even explain the parry system to you at all.
And-
And there's just a lot. There's just a lot they just don't do. It's just not here. And even to the point of the text box conversations where they take the voice acting out. There's no like rhyme or reason to what conversations give you voice acting or give you text bubbles. Even Yakuza follows like some type of rules of like, all right, this is going to be a really high budget cutscene because it's a very important plot moment. So there's going to be voices here and it's going to be fully animated here. This is important to the plot, but it's not like a major moment. So there will be voice acting, but there's no animation. And then this is just a who gives a fuck conversation. So it's in the game engine. It's two character models staring at each other. They're not animated. They're just looking at each other. And then text boxes show up. Like, there's rules to Yakuza. There's no rules to the Kingdom Hearts conversations outside of when we want to get weird, we get weird. That's when the voices drop out and the text bubbles fall away. And it's just that weird text and that thing that Phil is saying where Mickey Mouse is talking to you. That feels like a retcon to me. Because it, like, generally, that didn't feel like the intention.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's because he's talking to you from the void, because like he's in Kingdom Hearts, like the realm of darkness or whatever.
That's the Mickey
So,
Mouse
yeah,
moments, though.
Sure, yeah, but
Yeah.
we're just saying things at this point.
Yeah, I get you.
You know, as somebody who played 2 and 3, I've always had a very hardline opinion that the elements of the Kingdom Hearts games that drag the whole franchise down are the focus on Disney elements, and the best parts of it are the Kingdom Hearts, even to the point where Final Fantasy characters, though that might be biased. Maybe not. No,
I think the
it's not.
Final Fantasy holds it back more than Disney.
Yeah, I don't think that at all.
I think all of it is a double-edged sword because all of it is like conceptually, all of it is cool. And if you take any of those elements away, it does take something away from the spirit and the heart of the game. But at the same time, there's a lot of moments where it's also like, fuck, I don't care about the Pinocchio whale. I don't want to be here.
Well, see, I'm talking more about 2 and 3, right?
Sure.
And the Final Fantasy elements, like I said, it might be my own personal bias coming in, but it always seemed more interesting than just the backdrop of a Disney world, which really seems to be the core of how Disney is implemented beyond Mickey and all of his retinue, Donald and Goofy and whatnot. But this game,
What are your?
What?
Oh, sorry, I was gonna ask. What are your favorite Final Fantasy elements of 3?
3, it's more about 2, where the Final Fantasy elements come in. But
Because there are no Final Fantasy characters in Kingdom Hearts 3.
That's an issue where it's kind of even worse because it's only just Disney stuff or mainline Kingdom Hearts narrative. And from my time in that game, I never beat it, admittedly, because it just kept throwing Disney bullshit at me, and I was like, I'm done. Why are you not progressing the third game in a franchise?
It's the only thing I'd be interested in playing in Kingdom Hearts 3.
You see, it's the only thing that's there. But I say all of this to say that Kingdom Hearts 1 has none of that on either side. I was never interested in the Final Fantasy characters. They were very one note, and they came in.
Why is
Ed-
Cloud like some weird like amalgamation of himself and Vincent? Like he's like so moody and emo, and it's really weird.
There was a long period of time. This is my understanding from talking to Final Fantasy VII fans. There was a long period of time where Cloud's character kind of got mischaracterized.
Yeah. By fans.
By fans, and so the creators started playing off of what the fans believed Cloud was. And it really isn't until 7 Remake that they kind of fix it.
I would push back in terms of Kingdom Hearts because the whole entire point of Cloud's character is he's fighting with his dark side, his heartless side, which is Sephiroth. And the whole thing is that takes the place of...
Canon.
What's it?
It's canon.
It's canon. It is canon. But comparing it to Final Fantasy VII...
In more ways than even Phil knows.
Yeah. in the original Final Fantasy VII, Cloud's, edgy characteristics that have, been received by fans, it was all fake, right?
Yeah.
Because he took someone else's identity.
Yeah.
In this case, it makes more sense because he hasn't come to terms with his dark half, and it's caused problems in his own relationship. So this mainly comes into it too. But
I don't think Cloud has a dark half is the thing.
it's Sephiroth.
Like, he pretends to have a dark half. Sephiroth's fucking with him, yeah, sure. But like, when he's little boy Cloud, yeah, he's just a little sad boy. Like, you're just a loser, dude. Get over it. And then when he Now we're on a Final Fantasy VII tangent.
I know.
And then when he gets his personality back in 7, he becomes, it's that, let's mosey guy. It's that, all right, I'm the guy, we're the people, let's go do it, you know?
Yeah,
like,
and I just, like...
He's kind of dorky.
He's a dork.
He is a dork, yeah. But that's why I see the Sephiroth Heartless plot replacing the whole, I'm replacing my own personality and my own experiences with somebody else. It's supposed to...
Yeah, again, I think that's that same thing of, like, that's why he is the way he is in Advent Children, of, like, everybody thinks he's this, like, dark, like, edge boy, and he's not, you know? That's the whole point of 7, is that he's not that, but, you know.
But this is all to say that there were really no elements, narrative-wise, that made me attached to this game or its characters at all. You know, the best credit I can give it, and it came out of nowhere, too, when the end played, and again, this might be my nostalgia for Kingdom Hearts 2 coming into play, but when that final cutscene plays, it's the more cinematic one. What's the song that plays? What's
Simple and Clean?
Simple Clean?
Simple and Clean, yeah. I cried as a kid.
Yeah, and see, even
it's
as an
such
adult,
an abrupt cut-in.
it
comes
is,
in so hard.
but something about it works. It's the most emotionally resonant moment in that entire game, which sucks because it's at the end.
I don't agree, but...
What is then?
To me,
Yeah.
it's the weird mystery cave on the island. That's the best part of the game to me. I
get you.
love that cave.
I get you like that. That's not developed enough for me to care
I just
about.
don't. Yeah, again, it's an execution thing where like that music comes in out of nowhere all of a sudden.
Yes.
You hadn't heard it since you clicked new game on it, so like you probably don't remember it because it's 30 hours ago. And you've been introduced to so many other elements from there that like. Yeah, when the music cuts in, you're supposed to be like, oh yeah, the music. Yeah, this is the theme. But like, it's just not if it was used more, like, or if it popped up in more places, or if the melody of that song was the battle theme or something like that, then it would be cooler.
I disagree because the song is good and it's more.
But that's how a game like Fire Emblem Three Houses works. They play you a song in the beginning, and then that song is the battle theme. So then when they play the song again at the end, you go, oh, we get the lyrics now. Cool. Like, that's a cool moment. You play it once in the beginning and then once at the end, and you go, they're playing the song. And I like the song. It's a good song.
All the music in this game, in this series is fantastic.
You know what? Yeah, I'll give the music, as far as like elements I can praise, the music's probably at the top there. You know, is it
Sure.
so amazing? No.
I think it's fine.
It's good, but it's not
great.
Certain tracks are great. Well, certain tracks are amazing, like that
I love it
final
all.
one. But comprehensively, it's a good soundtrack.
The battle theme's good.
It's good, yeah,
Other than that, I don't remember any other real themes that are like memorable.
but they're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
not memorable.
Traverse
they're
Town,
good.
bro.
Which, to your point, that's the only level that's good. Like,
Traverse Town?
Yeah, only level.
It's the most fun, but it's still confusing because you still don't know where you're going.
I think it was always... the only problem was in later parts, and this more of a problem with the signposting rather than Traverse Town, where you're supposed to find...
You got to go to this deep corner to get to
Yeah.
the sewers, and you would never go here normally ever, and there's nothing that points you in that direction.
Point of shame, I will admit, that's the only time, and the first time in a long time, I've looked up where to go in a video game story, because I was just like, where?
Dude, Wonderland was driving me crazy. Which is
It
the
shows
first
you.
fucking
It
level.
shows you that. It shows you that area with the sewer thing.
Yeah.
Right before you fight guard armor, the first boss.
And I
In Traverse
stopped playing the game, and so that little bit of separation was like,
just
where
saying.
am I going again? Oh, I get what you're saying. You know,
Well, it's the game's first boss. You're probably 5 hours deep at that point, so you're probably at the end of your first real playthrough or play session.
Yeah.
it's more that the
Session, yeah.
to access the sewers, you need to take advantage of these things that they include called trinities.
The Trinities.
Which,
yeah.
which are stupid. Because again, it tries to push you to say, "Oh, you can go back to this other level," but it's always like, "Oh, I get a mega potion." All right,
I don't think the Trinities are stupid. They do need to be like more
Built
level,
upon, yeah.
more level effective
Yeah.
Trinities, like the ones where you bash
Yeah.
through walls or the ones you climb
I
up to
agree.
new areas. Yeah,
yeah,
I
When it's
agree,
just
but-
we're hitting the Trinity and then a chest appears. That is lame.
which is most of them, unfortunately.
And
Most of the blue ones, yeah.
yeah.
The white ones, those are like the last Trinity that you get access to. They give you some of like the best weapons in the game.
If only I was wanting to play the game more by the time I unlocked those trinities.
Just saying.
I agree.
Did you guys craft anything with the Moogle shop?
I
Sure.
did, yeah.
yeah,
I crafted everything I could which was
Nice.
a pretty big chunk of the stuff. It was useful.
I don't think it's
You
a huge
I
chunk
bet-
of the stuff. There's
I
clearly
bet
like
you guys.
levels
I
to
bet
it
you
that they
guys
come
didn't
in
use
later.
Ultima Weapon.
No, definitely
did
did
not.
not. Did no. Well, there was a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of it's tied to the gummy
Lot.
ship, isn't it?
No, it's a lot of it is tied to special heartless that appear in certain areas only like every couple times you show up.
I remember one from the Tarzan one. It's the guy on the rock
That one
where he
sucks.
splits.
So
That
it's
one
like
sucks.
so it's like random appearing enemies in random
no.
levels.
Not the one Connor's talking about. Yes, Tavin, it is random enemies appearing in certain levels. So there are certain rooms in each level that have a special heartless. This is exclusive to the final mix version of the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the one I'm talking about that sucks is the there's like a big mushroom heartless that shows up in the treehouse. After you use magic on 3 other mushrooms in that same area.
Is this Phil? I had a thing in Agrabah. I was in the middle of my Agrabah play through. I hadn't finished Agrabah. Like I was still like in the middle of it, and I went to Agrabah's basically like one hallway, and then like you like split off into things. So I went to the end of that hallway, and I fought. In that level, there are in a lot of the levels, but in this one specifically, there's spiders in jars. Like and like the legs pop out of the jars, and you fight the jar. Right? I fought a scorpion in a jar.
Yes.
Is that one of these guys?
That is one of these guys.
Okay,
So,
great, because I died, came back later, and he would not come back.
Yeah. It's just a random thing.
Okay, cool.
So his thing is you show up and there's like the grid of all those different pots, and the trick is you have to you basically trigger him last by running into each of the jars to find out which one he's in, and the one that he's in won't move when you run into it. So you break all the other ones around him to get like little XP bonuses. And then when he finally appears, you have to guard all of his attacks and then hit him when he's upside down.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because that was one that I was frustrated at because I was like, nothing's working. I don't know what to do.
I'm fairly certain he's invulnerable until he's upside down.
How overpowered is Tinkerbell?
Really overpowered.
Really overpowered.
You can't die.
That's how I got through Maleficent. Is fucking Tink.
Yeah, she is the summon for Maleficent for sure.
Maleficent.
Big dragon.
Yep.
You had
The
to
big
use
dragon?
her? Bad
Yeah.
gamer.
Okay.
My only issue
I
was
got through it a lot faster than you did.
probably did, yeah.
For sure.
Fuck Chernobog. So stupid.
Who?
Chernobog.
Oh yeah, I didn't have
big-
any problems with that one.
Yeah, guy from Fantasia. Yeah.
Yeah, again, probably because of Tinkerbell, but like also wasn't that tough, you know? That one, Connor, I watched you fight that one. His signal for the fire, which is what kept stun locking you, that signal's so obvious. Like
It's obvious,
It's
but
very obvious.
he would always do it right before his other attack. And so you had like no room to kill the guy. Like it would take forever.
Fair. I get it. Yeah. That happens a lot though, where you're just
Especially
like
the final boss. My God.
A lot of it feels random, dude. The
Dude.
final boss where you gotta like take the turrets out off
Yeah.
of him and then fight like a main
Yup.
thing. Dude, so many times I was like, I don't think I died in that fight. Maybe once. Maybe I died once.
Yeah, it was a bad boss fight.
There were so many times where I'm like, this is random. Like, whether I live or die is not based off of my player skill at all.
I almost forgot. The item system sucks balls in this
Oh,
game.
it's terrible. It's
awful.
so bad.
Like, why can't you just have... I get it that you can only use one item that's delegated to your item slots.
So you have like 3 item slots.